Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm so glad that we're doing this today, this little
Yeah, this
author
is
interview.
fun.
Everyone, I'm here with author Mary Flinn, the author of Torn. And today we're going to just ask her a couple of questions, get to know her a little bit, and just hear all about what Torn is about. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what Torn is about.
Yeah, so I'm Mary Flynn. I'm from North Carolina, so a lot of my books are set in North Carolina, both contemporary and historical fiction. And Torn was a little bit of a departure for me, and it started with when I heard Roe v. Wade was overturned back in June of 2022. I was watching it on TV, and I thought, oh my God, we are back to coat hangers in this country, and 50 years of reproductive rights for women are down the tubes. Ooh, bad pun.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
So I was thinking about, all the poor women that didn't have any
Mhm.
options anymore. And I thought, well, what if I put myself in a girl's place who was in a situation where she really had no options? And what would her circumstances be? And what could she possibly do? And so Torn was born.
Torn, yay!
Yeah.
All right, so we're just gonna hop right into the questions if you're
Yeah,
ready.
sure.
Torn is a very important book considering today's political climate. What inspired you to write the story? I know you already talked a bit about it, but what
Yeah.
was the push that was like, I'm gonna write this book?
Yeah, so after Roe was overturned, I kept hearing all these stories on the news about women who might have had a late stage miscarriage, where they had gone to the hospital with where their water had broken, but they were not in labor, and they would be sent home in states like Texas and other really restrictive places, and they were told to come back if they started labor, or if sepsis started to set in, and who knows what that would be like and how fast that would occur, and depending on how far away from the hospital you were, it could be life threatening, and people died. And then also the other situation was people that had ectopic pregnancies were not able to have those removed because that would have been an abortion. And that just seems really strange to think about, but that's the way the laws were. So it just made me think, somebody really needs to be telling these people stories.
Start the conversations and talking about
Exactly.
it.
Start
Yep,
the
yep,
conversation.
yep. Now, how did you come up with the characters for Torn?
So with Marilee, I wanted to find a girl who was living in Texas and had no options. And I kind of wanted to put her in the worst situation possible. So she's been orphaned at 15 from Native American parents. She gets in a Native American placement, and then this is during COVID, and something happens where she has to go to another placement. It's an emergency kind of situation. And then after being in that situation for a while, she becomes pregnant, and just trying to think of what could happen to her. And so she ends up having this condition called hyperemesis gravidarum, where she's throwing up probably 6 or 7 times a day. And it's a condition that can happen from the beginning of pregnancy all the way through to the final days, and just so unbearable, and she just wants it all to end. But the family that she lives with does not approve of abortion in any way, and they want her to have this baby and put it up for adoption. That's how I came up with her. And then Theo, he is a grieving husband, and he his wife has died of a complication that I was describing before, where she her water broke, but she didn't go into labor. And then by the time he got her back to the hospital, she passed away. And so he wants some kind of justice for her. He's just not sure what to do about it or how that's ever going to happen for him, just trying to put one foot in front of the other. And so coincidentally, his wife was Marilee's biology teacher. And so they have this link. And somehow through the book and the other characters, they get linked up, and he ends up taking her out of the state of Texas to North Carolina to visit his in-laws. And that's his way of helping her, and that's her miracle, is a ride out of Texas.
I like that.
Yeah.
Could Torn have been written in another setting or in another state?
It probably could have. I mean, there's so many states that have these restrictive laws, and it just all these laws were so new to me. I didn't really know a whole lot about them, and so it definitely could have happened in other places.
And I feel like they're constantly changing, but that might just be me seeing that.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah,
the
you're right.
dates
They
are changing,
are.
the specifications are changing, the requirements are changing.
Mm-hmm. And every time there's an election and new people
Mm-hmm.
come into office, then some things change.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it really is.
What has been the reaction to your book since it was released in October?
It's been very favorable. People seem excited about it. Book clubs want to read it. Men and women have been reading it. And I didn't tell you this before, but I was at an event where I was talking about Torn, and there were a few men in the audience. And one of the men raised his hand and he said, "I just want you to know that I'm a man." And we all laughed. And he said, "And I'm listening." And nobody laughed.
Oh, I got a little bit of chills when you said that.
And a few people clapped their hands. And I should have said, let's all give this man a standing ovation, because that was really important. And I don't know that I gave him the respect that he deserved after that comment. But I really appreciate that. And so it's not just women who are reading it and liking it. And it's, people that are really interested and want to make a difference.
And want to learn, want
And
to get educated, want to hear stories.
Right.
Yes, I like that. Did the legislation in Texas and in North Carolina change as you were writing Torn in 2023?
It did. So in Texas, they had the heartbeat bill already in effect before Roe was overturned. And that was when a fetal heartbeat is detected at 6 weeks, which is often before a woman knows she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It also had a bounty hunter clause involved with that bill, where instead of having the government sue a person who aided or abetted someone having an abortion, that could be a doctor who performed it or someone that gave a ride out of state to go and have an abortion. Those people could be convicted and sent to jail. They could have paid enormous fines. Doctors could have lost their licenses. But the bounty hunter bill was designed so that individual citizens could sue people who had done this. So that was bad enough. And then, of course, in North Carolina, when I was writing this, I was writing in June of 2023, and I was trying to see what the North Carolina legislation was going to do. And we had, at that point, a 12-week ban. And Governor Cooper wanted to keep that. So in June, I was good to go with my timeline, because my timeline went through August.
You'd have to edit it all. if something major had changed.
Yeah.
But just had to scratch it, start differently.
Start all over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, have you had any opposition in your book in the form of reviews or personal feedback?
Not yet. The only fun thing that happened was a man who asked me what I was writing when I described Torn. He said, "Are you trying to get banned?"
Before you even get started.
Before it even comes out, you're trying to get banned. And I thought, well, that would be a really nice badge of honor to be banned, which would mean that I had made my point in the book.
Correct. Makes people scared to listen to what you have to say.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Well, what has surprised you most in the feedback that you have received?
I think probably the most surprising thing is people who were raised in the Catholic Church coming to me, and a lot of these people have been older women. Haven't really had a lot of young people tell me this, but they would say, I grew up in the Catholic Church with all these ideas in mind. I thought, this would never apply to me. I would never need to worry about an abortion, but just seeing what this girl went through, and the man Theo really changed their point of view.
Yep. I feel like I can relate to that, having grown up in the Catholic Church
Mm-hmm.
myself. And I know you mentioned that it's usually older women that are talking about that, but I feel like in my generation, we have been so aware of what's happening in the world, the political climate, with the media, social media, and how it's always changing. And even if we don't want to be involved, we always hear about it. And I could see why that we're more aware of it. I think.
Yeah.
Well, you acknowledged several professional people who helped you in your research. What did you learn that surprised you or helped you significantly?
I think one thing that helped me was a friend of mine who was she's retired as the director of the North Carolina Children's Home Society, and she told me a lot about children in foster care. And one of the points she really drove home was that we tend to refer to children who are in foster care as foster kids. And she had a little boy that told her when he grew up, he was probably just going to be a foster dad because he was a foster kid. And it really impacted her. And when she told me that, it informed me as well. So when I was writing about Marilee, I kept that in mind, that she was a child first and foremost, a human being first and foremost, but she was also in foster care. And that really impacted the way I wrote her character.
Yeah, how you view people and the labels, how they become not
Mm-hmm.
important. It's the human being that you're
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah, and this is a real human story. People would say, well, you're writing a political book. And I thought, well, I'm really not. And someone had asked me once, as a woman, how do you feel about this? And I thought, well, I get why she's saying that because I am a woman and this is sort of a woman's issue. But it as a human being, I just think that it's wrong to not view abortion as a healthcare issue. And so I think that was one reason I really wanted to bring Theo into the story as a man also dealing with this, because it is a human story, and these are human issues, and these are human beings we're talking about. And so I feel like it could be a political book, but it's really a human story.
Human story. I like that. Human story. Well, do you think you have changed minds by putting Liv, Theo, and Marilee's stories to paper?
I think so. People have told me that it's changed their point of view. I had a friend when she was one of my beta readers, and she was reading it. She said, "I have to tell you," she goes, "I didn't think I was going to like this book." And she said, "When I grew up, I had this wonderful. I can't remember what state she grew up in, but she had this wonderful sex education curriculum, and." She said, "I knew 312 ways not to get pregnant." So I never thought that I would have to deal with this, and I never thought I would have to think about it. And you really made me think about it. So
yeah, a lot of people don't think about it. They just hear the word abortion and they think, oh, negative.
Turn that off.
Yep. But they don't realize that, like you said, these are human beings that just have stories, and everyone around here, you might not know someone, and it doesn't become real until you hear of someone that you do personally know, and it's their stories coming to life. And yeah, it's a very real thing. Very real thing. Well, will you be writing another similarly themed book in the future, you think?
I don't know. I didn't think I would be writing Torn, but it just drew me in. The whole theme, all the stories I kept hearing just kept calling to me, and I just knew that I needed to write this story. So these things are sort of providential. They just kind of land in my lap, and I think, what am I supposed to do with this? I didn't know I was going to write historical fiction, and then I wrote Lumina, and then I wrote the follow-up, Playing by Heart, and I loved doing that, and I loved writing Torn. So there's no telling what will come next. We'll just wait and see.
Yes, we'll see. All right, last question. What impact do you think your book can have on individuals who may not have previously thought deeply about abortion laws or reproductive rights? I know we kind of touched base on this a little bit.
Yeah, and I think if anybody who reads it, I think is going to already have somewhat of an open mind. And it will just, I think, open their eyes a little bit further to everyone in the story. All the characters are in the story are torn in some way. And so there's probably somebody in the book that whoever reads it will be able to relate to.
That's exactly right. Yep. Well, any last thoughts or comments? Anything you'd like to share about Torn, or anything you're working on currently or in the future?
Well, Torn is available to buy. You can get it at your bookstore. If you're in Wilmington, hopefully it's in Barnes and Noble. It's at Pomegranate Books. You can order it online through Amazon or as an ebook on Kindle. You can order it from my website, theonenovel.com. And I'd love for you to write a review if you feel so inclined, and share it on social media, pass it around to your friends, invite me to your next book club meeting. I would love to do that and discuss this with you.
Yes.
Be wonderful.
Yes, get those conversations started.
That's right. Let's start the conversation.
Start the conversation. Hashtag
Yep.
start the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me and talking about Torn. Yeah. I'm so
Thank
glad we
you,
got to do this, of
Nancy.
course.